Hey there, welcome. Tonight is movie night, and we are looking at movies that get teenagers right. And tonight's film, Breakfast Club. Hey Ruben, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, you remember this movie, Breakfast Club? I think I see it every year because I teach it. I teach it in my psychology class. So I was excited when you mentioned it, and we're looking at films that get it right, right, that get teenagers right. And this one, I believe, does. And it stars, if people don't know, Emilio Estevez, Ali Sheedy, Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Anthony Michael Hall, and Paul Gleason. Written and directed by John Hughes, who did 16 Candles, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, those films, and then so on, right? And so this film, he did a lot of his films in Chicago area, but it looks at these five kids, and as they are spending an afternoon, a Saturday, uh, in their library because they have done something to get them there, and like a timeout, right? And they're also having to write an essay in who you think you are. That's the topic, who you think you are. And they're trying to, write that. And then in the end, of course, Anthony Michael Hall's character writes the essay. But in this film where these five kids are just bunching together, trying to, get this day off their, off their check mark, they're having difficult time getting to get to know each other, and you can tell they don't like each other. They don't know each other. They come from different places. One's a homecoming queen. One's a basket case. One's a ruffian. One's a smart kid, right? And then one's a jock. And so they all come from different areas. And they have these families that are different as well, have different parenting styles. Even though you don't see the parents, you hear about the parents throughout the film. And I think that's what happens. There's a scene, Ruben, where they go upstairs and smoke marijuana, right? And you can start seeing that's when they start really letting out and letting loose and what their background really is about and why they're there, why they have detention for a whole day. And so I think because of that, and as you hear them telling their stories, why they're there, you just really feel for these kids. And that's where I feel like that's how this movie gets it right. Because, as I teach it, I talk about different parenting styles: the authoritarian style, the authoritative, which is also democratic, permissive, and the neglected, or the uninvolved parent. And you see that with these parents. They all these kids have those parents, and they're dealing with it, and they're dealing with just high school life, and they're dealing with relationships and friendships. And you see that some of them have no friendships. The one played by Ali Sheedy, she has nobody, and she's even there because she has nowhere to go. Her parents are actually uninvolved and neglected, right? She has and all this could be said as this is in some way abuse. Back then in the 80s, it was just typical. But today, I think people would be, knocking at the door and trying to find out what's going on in these homes. But tough movie to watch sometimes, a couple scenes, but really well done, well acted. All five of them did excellent. Even the assistant principal, Paul Gleason, I think he did a great job being that administrator. Tough guy, but at the same time, people like that. What do you think, Ru?
Well, I think if you see, I like it. I liked it a lot, and like you, I've seen it several times, and I've also taught it in terms of how to create characters that are different from one another. I think you see a group of teens. How do they interact? What does one teen say? How do they look? Notice their dress, notice their speech pattern, notice the differences. That's something that I've taught students, and we've looked at the Breakfast Club, as well as other scenes from different things, different movies. But if you look at John Hughes' film trajectory up until that point, you notice that he plays it for laughs only. Kind of, Vacation, 16 Candles.
Yeah.
These are just straight comedies. But then you see this film where you notice that there's really intense characters, scenes, monologues. And I think Judd Nelson mentioned this, that the character who plays Bender, that there was a monologue written by Hughes who he just threw it in the trash. It was that serious monologue from Stevez, that character,
Oh yeah.
one by Bender maybe, and it was too serious. But one of them pulled it from the trash and said, "What is this? Let's explore this." As actors, they want to really get
Right.
deep into a character. They don't just want to tell jokes.
Yeah.
And Hughes, grudgingly said, "Okay, let's try it. Let's film it. Let's see where we go." And then that's what made these characters human.
Yeah.
That's what made them true. And so, yes, it got these teenagers right because you get to see the pain.
Yeah.
Judd Nelson's character, Bender, front and center. You see that monologue where he spills paint in the garage. His father flips out on him, and it's funny and it's true. Similarly, what's funny and true is the Anthony Michael Hall character, and he gets picked on and bullied. People relate to that. You feel like you're peering in on teenagers, not even teenagers from the 80s, maybe today as well.
And I think it still works today for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, if I were to say something that was a misstep or at least not as genuine is the Emilio Estevez character, I found it a little bit too trying to fit the story, the character to everybody else's. Here's the jock who has a vulnerable side. Well, I didn't know that many jocks who were that vulnerable and were that emotional like that. It felt a little bit forced, that one. It's sort of entertaining. I'm wondering too if the problem is I don't think he's that strong of an actor compared to the rest of that cast. I felt like he was a little bit fish out of water. He's just not as good. And so I'm wondering if that's the problem. That's the only part of it that might be a misstep. Everything else is funny, good. It's pretty seamless from beginning to end. I agree with you. Paul Gleason's character kind of holds it together. This film's a little bit different, right? Than Fast Times. Like we had just reviewed. Fast Times doesn't really give us the adult character to see through. This one kind of does, but does it give us a teenager that's real? Yes, it does get it right, and it's good.
Very good. Yeah, definitely worth watching. I'm sure probably most of America has seen it, but it definitely could be used in the classroom, like you said. You used it. I've used it, looking at different parenting styles and what should be done, what shouldn't be done, and how parents. Even though the parents weren't even shown, although you saw a little bit of it. Anthony Michael Hall's mother saying, "Hey, you better find a place to study," and there are parents like that, right? And so, but even though they didn't have them, like I said, you just felt it. You felt the parents there and how they behaved at home, right? But very good. Thank you, and I hope you're with us next time as we look at films. Thank you. Bye bye.